All right, I think we'll get started. We have some people trickling in, but just in the interest of time, we'll get started here. So good afternoon and welcome to Re-engage in Trade, Immigration and International Trade. My name is Stella Sheehan and I am the Deputy Director here at the World Trade Center St. Louis. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon for a topic that is certainly near and dear to our hearts here at the World Trade Center. In fact, the St. Louis Mosaic Project, which is an initiative to attract and retain foreign-born to the region, is housed within our offices and is part of the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. And with news of some changes last week to immigration policy, I think it's safe to say that our timing this week is rather impeccable. So just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. You will be muted for the duration of the presentation. If you wish to ask questions, however, you can do so via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screens, and we will do our best to get to those towards the end of the formal discussion. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our Executive Director, Mr. Tim Nowak. Tim has led the World Trade Center since 2007, bringing years of international experience in Africa, Europe, Asia Pacific, the Middle East, South America, and Europe. He is a 2014 Eisenhower Fellow and a proud Mizzou grad. And I would be remiss if I did not mention, particularly for this particular topic, that we certainly would not all be here today were it not for his vision and that of our president, Rodney Krim, who were both instrumental in the formation of the St. Louis Mosaic Project back in 2013. So with that, over to you, Tim.
Hey, thank you so much, Stella. And I'm super excited as well for today's program and these three terrific panelists that we have joining us. Actually, it was I'm going to introduce each one of our panelists, and then I'm going to kick it back over to Stella and invite their comments, and then a good Q&A and good dialogue back and forth. But I'm first going to introduce our very own Betsy Cohen. Betsy is the Executive Director of the St. Louis Mosaic Project, and as Stella mentioned, a program within the World Trade Center St. Louis and the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. Betsy had a prior career at Nestle Purina as the Vice President of Marketing. She is a graduate of Wellesley College and the Harvard Business School. She's on the advisory board of the St. Louis University Chaffetz School of Business and the Cortex Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Now, the St. Louis Mosaic Project, many of you are very familiar with this initiative, but it has two goals: to make St. Louis the fastest growing metro region for foreign-born by 2025, and add 25,000 foreign-born to the region by that same year. This attraction and retention is done through collaboration with hundreds of local organizations and government agencies, probably many of your own organizations, those who are on today's webinar. The Mosaic Project has programs to help with career networks for job seekers and programs for corporations looking to advance more diverse hiring. And working with two incredible local consultants, Mosaic also supports mentoring for international women locally. And along with Stella on the trade side, Betsy is one of our key leaders driving a more global St. Louis by attracting and retaining talent from around the world. Actually, it was Betsy also late last year who brought to the attention this recent article from the St. Louis Federal Reserve looking at the important correlation between immigration and trade. So thanks so much, Betsy, and looking forward to your comments. Joining Betsy will also be Nalini Mahadevan. Nalini is the principal attorney with MLO Law, LLC, and has been in practice since 2003, specializing in immigration, estate planning, special needs, and elder law. Her clientele includes both corporations and individuals. Nalini's career started off as a corporate attorney in India before relocating to the United States. She holds an undergraduate degree in accounting, a master's degree in law from the University of Mumbai, India, and an MBA from Washington University and a JD from St. Louis University School of Law. In August last year, Nalini was awarded the 2020 St. Louis Business Journal Most Influential Women's Award. She's a board member of Focus St. Louis, and she has taught law, practice management, and immigration law at St. Louis University School of Law. Nalini was chair of the Missouri Bar Immigration Committee and one of the founding members of the South Asian Bar Association of Metro St. Louis. Where in the world she finds the time to do this, I have no idea, but she is also an author. Her book, How to Start a Law Practice and Succeed, is a primer for new lawyers and those transitioning from a large law firm. And it's based on her own personal experience, and that book is also available via Amazon. Nalini, thank you for being here with us today. And last, but certainly not least, is Mr. Bulut Kartal. Bulut is the founder and president of two organizations, ArchTek Industries and Whitney Wipes, based here in St. Louis. I first heard about Bulut and ArchTek from his presentation at our most recent St. Louis Mosaic steering committee. And it was fascinating to hear his story, and you'll get to hear a little bit more of his background and his story here on ArchTek itself and the work that they do. But ArchTek Industries is a St. Louis-based manufacturer's agent that specializes in manufacturing and global distribution of baby wipes, antibacterial wipes, and over-the-counter drugs. He has past experience, and he's an entrepreneur with background working in the maritime industry, and he is very skilled within research and development, operations management, international freight, international shipping and ports, and strong business development. Following the meeting with the Mosaic Project, I had a chance to meet with him separately in a business retention and expansion meeting. And getting to hear some of their global work led to this idea, what a perfect addition he would be to this program. Talking about the international connections, the sourcing and trade, two-way trade that those connections have led to makes him a perfect addition to this group. So Bulut, thank you for being with us today. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and kick it back over to my colleague Stella, who will then get the conversation going with this esteemed panel. Thanks so much, Stella.
Thank you, Tim. So we'll get straight to the point. So I guess we'll start with the why of this. And Betsy, I'll ask you to maybe kick us off here. Why is immigration important to the St. Louis region from an economic standpoint?
Thanks, Stella. Well, I would like to just share a slide, if Bomi could help me with that, to talk about why we wanted to use this as a springboard for the discussion, because the Mosaic Project's goal is to attract and retain foreign-born people to our region. And if you go to the next slide, the study that we wanted to talk about is a paper that two economists and researchers from our St. Louis Fed had put together, the Federal Reserve, which said that states that have higher shares of immigrants tend to export a higher fraction of manufactured goods. And there were actually two reasons: that immigrants bring with them knowledge of foreign languages, markets, customs, making it easier for them to form business connections abroad and increase exports of manufactured goods. And high-skilled immigrants can increase productivity of our local firms and make them more globally competitive. And this is part of what led to the founding of the St. Louis Mosaic Project, which is that as we have more foreign-born people here, not only do they propel our local population, purchasing, growth, economic well-being, but that they allow us to have more interrelationships of import and export with other countries.
Great, thanks so much, Betsy. Nalini, I'm going to pose the same question to you. Sorry, I didn't know. I realized I had unmuted myself. So I think the main reason, as an immigrant myself, I think the main reason I would say is that I'm a business owner, and when I go look at the statistics, what happens in Missouri, immigrant entrepreneurs contribute $340 million to the economy.
That's not a small sum. And when you encourage immigrants to come here, they are in general are skilled from where they are coming. So they bring their knowledge, whether it's in the business they were engaged in or the profession they were engaged in overseas, and they bring it here. And along with them, they bring a lot of ideas. And, just like the article that Betsy mentioned, they bring with them culture and language. So what happens is that, I was born in England, I was raised in India, so I have familiarity with those areas. And so if you ask me tomorrow, would I like to collaborate? Yes. So we have collaborations in those countries overseas. And so because as being from India, and I have I'm comfortable dealing with what is required there. So if I'm dealing with a business overseas, I kind of know what the cultural practices are there, what practices the business people overseas in that particular country, what do they follow? And so for me, it's easy for me to kind of like segue into that practice and to bring my expertise along to the local business over here. So if you're looking at immigrants and what they bring to the local economy and how they will move the needle on international trade, that is a very big part of it. Also, I think immigrants not only bring knowledge and ideas, but they also bring their background with them. So that's one of the reasons why we would like to encourage that and think it will encourage international trade. Immigrants in Missouri are the 5% of immigrants in Missouri are, sorry, 5% of the workforce in Missouri are immigrants. So that is a large proportion of the workforce that is very professionally qualified. And if we look at immigrants in Missouri, and the reason why would they promote international trade is that about 31,000 are engaged in manufacturing, and another 25,000 are engaged in healthcare and social assistance. Others are in the hospitality industry, 20,000. In educational services, about 19,000, and professional and scientific services, about 17,000. So you can see just in Missouri how much collaboration they can bring about exporting their services overseas and increasing our trade, international trade within the state of Missouri.
Great, thanks, Nalini. Certainly, no denying the figures there. Bulut, I'm going to pose the same question to you, and of course, you're actually one of our living examples of those immigrant entrepreneurs. So, same question to you.
Thank you, Stella. Well, I'm an immigrant as well, so what I think we bring a lot to Missouri and our community. We add a lot of values because we have different backgrounds, we have different cultures, we have different ideas, socially and economically, and we bring those views and ideas here. So it adds a lot in Missouri and St. Louis. That's what I think. I mean, Betsy and Nalini, they said everything. I think not left a lot for me, but what I see is what makes this country better than the others. According to me, it's just that what immigrants bring and adds in this country. So that's why actually me personally love United States for that reason.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about your story, where you came from and how your business works, just a little bit.
Well, I'm originally from Turkey. I used to be a ship captain. So whenever we first moved to St. Louis, it wasn't a great place for me, actually, for a ship captain being work on large international ships for a long time. So it was kind of different for me, and I really had hard time to find a job, to be honest. I mean, probably most immigrants have these issues. So I came up with an idea to use my own connections overseas to open up my own business, and it worked well. So that's why that's what makes difference to be an immigrant. We have different connections overseas. We have different views, so we can look at the things different than others. So this is a great addition for us.
Great, thank you so much, Bulut. So Betsy, I'm moving on to the to our next question. What does the correlation between immigration and trade mean for you in your role, and in your very particular role, we should say, with the St. Louis Mosaic Project?
Well, it means that we can work with both people and companies to build these international bridges, and that we can help tell the story of what this does to add to our region. And I think it's that important story that our foreign-born community adds to those people that were born in our country, and that it's an and, it's not an or, and that we as a region grow both economically and culturally and socially when we have the benefit of newcomers that come, and they bring their families, they bring their ideas, and they bring their economic motivation. This comes down to a very local level, such as we look at what's happening with our school districts, our St. Louis City schools, and as they consolidate, we don't have enough population. And we know that refugees and other immigrants that move to our city, they keep both schools open, they buy from other neighbors, they are driving our economy. As Nalini said, we know that foreign-born in our region start businesses 60% more frequently than our native-born community. So this drives everything from vitality of our communities to economic growth, and then making this a multicultural place. We know that younger people and the rest of us, but particularly those young people that are looking to move to new parts of our country, they want to move to places that are multicultural, that have a welcoming, diverse community. And to the extent that St. Louis needs to have embracing opportunities for both our Black communities and our other people of color, this will make us more attractive to everybody.
Great, thanks, Betsy. Nalini, same question to you. And again, of course, being an immigration lawyer, you have a very particular perspective on this.
So, well, I mean, I can just speak about my story, right? So I was a lawyer in India. I came here and then I did my MBA. And then suddenly, I had children, and then I could not work. In those days, there was not this, childcare was a big challenge for me. So, so I found out being a lawyer, actually, I went back to law school because of that, because that's what I knew. It's like we all revert back to that. So I'm the true immigrant story. I go from, like Bulut was trying to find out where he could fit in. I did the same thing. Where could I fit in? So, so when, as an immigrant, what we do is we start businesses. So while we may not be doing international trade, in goods, we are doing international trade and services, because then what I'm looking for is opportunities to help my current clients who are here in the United States with business in India. So we engage with services, other professional services in India, so that they can be helped overseas. And this is, it's just because, going back to the first question, is because I'm comfortable with speaking to somebody in a native language in India to say, this is what we need. And to do that, because as you know, every part of India speaks a different language. So yeah, I think so from my perspective, I think that's what, as an immigrant and as an entrepreneur here in St. Louis, that's what I could bring to the table as far as trade is concerned. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And there are lots of people like me. Lots of people like me.
Well, we would dispute that, but anyway, we can talk about that afterwards. Bulut, same question to you. And of course, you're, as I said in the last question, you're actually the living example of this. So if you can talk a little about your business and how being an immigrant in St. Louis, what that experience has been like.
Well, St. Louis is great, to be honest. I mean, the weather is not that great sometimes, but St. Louis is great. People here, they're great. And especially if you have people like Betsy and Tim helping our community a lot to bring people like us together and help them to grow and success and be part of the community is great. So I personally feel very welcomed. So thank you for that. And about our business, we are in wipe business. We make basically any kind of wet wipes, like antibacterial wipes and baby wipes. And we are working on EPA approved disinfecting wipes as well. And we distribute them globally right now. So in St. Louis and in other countries. And we are very happy to be part of this community. And as a company, we try to help as much as we can to our community as well. And I think that's the most important point, to give back to your community.
Absolutely, and something we're probably, as an immigrant myself, something you're keenly aware of, always that giving back and helping those people who are coming behind you. So yeah, great advice there. Getting a little bit more into policy, Nalini. Of course, we're going to start with you. As we said at the beginning, you know, what a great time to be hosting this this event because of the recent changes in immigration policy. But I'm sure it is not easy keeping up with all of those changes, and particularly with such a change having occurred with the new administration. How do you think the changes will affect your daily work, and really, how are you keeping up with all of this?
So every day I have to say, every day I get up in the morning and say, what's the change today? And then I'm frantically looking at all the sources that I normally look at and every email that I get. But that apart, I mean, we have to, you know, this administration has been here only 30 days and there are so many changes. And I just want to list some of the changes I think our audience may be interested in. For instance, there was the H4 EAD was on the employment authorization document, was on the chopping block. That has been removed now. That's no longer on the agenda. ICE enforcement policies, you know, they have prioritized whom they're going to remove. They are not going to remove people who do not pose a threat to public safety. Then they have added undocumented persons to our census. That's huge. I mean, just politically, just for our political landscape, the number of congresspersons we get, that affects that very basically all the public services that every state receives. Naturalization, they've gone back to the 2008 questions instead of the new 125 questions. That, I mean, a lot of my clients were very afraid of that. For a lot of people, English, they don't dream in English, right? So that's important. My goodness, H-1B wages, that was supposed to start this March, and they have postponed that to December. We are not happy with the postponement, but we will take everything we can get. As maybe you perhaps knew that in the last 4 years, they wanted the wages to be much higher than they normally were. There was an act called Buy American, and so Hire American. And with that act, what happened was they wanted to increase all the H-1B wages, basically gut that program, make it so expensive to hire somebody in that visa category that employers would not use them anymore. So that has been rolled back to December 31st. The public charge, now that is still on the Biden agenda. What I noticed recently is, and when I go for the immigration interviews, they're not touching too much on it. So while, I mean, I think quietly there's a change being made in attitudes, I think basically immigration officers, there's like this huge burden that has been lifted from their shoulders. They're a little more relaxed. The other thing is that, the USCIS fees have not been increased. They're still at the old levels, which will make immigration so much more affordable for so many more people. The zero tolerance policy at the border, southern border, 550 plus children being separated from their families, that will no longer happen. That they're still looking for those, the parents of those children. Their parents were all deported. Nobody knows where they are. The COVID travel restrictions, now they are going to stay for the moment. Parts of it will definitely stay for the moment because we have now various strains of the COVID in our country. Muslim ban has been lifted. I mean, how big is that? So all the students from those countries can come, and students are the pipeline to immigration. They come here, they pay full tuition. International students pay full tuition so that our kids can pay in-state tuition. International students, I mean, the university education system is $40 billion plus. And when students are here, they also learn not only curricular practical training when they are studying, but also optional practical training. There was some litigation going on about optional practical training, that the STEM students should not get the 24 extra months. But I think now that appeal was won, although there is some other litigation going on. But I think for the most part, that part seems to be safe at the moment.
Hey, Nalini, could I have you, Nalini, could I
yes.
have you make another comment? You talked about the H-1B and the wage issue. Some people may not understand that, but if you could explain why there was going to be a change, and that to the extent that there is not, it's much better for our international students who need to get entry-level jobs.
Yes. Thanks, Betsy, for asking that question. So like I said, students are the pipeline. So students come in, they study over here, they get, if they are in a non-STEM, they go for 1 year of OPT, and then they apply for an H-1B visa. If they are STEM, they're going to go for 3 years of OPT, and during that time apply for the H-1B visa. Now, most students don't have experience. So when the employers employ them, they usually employ them in a level 1 wage. Now, most of the wages are in 4 tiers, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 4 being the highest, most experienced, don't need any supervision, that kind of thing, can be a manager, that kind of thing. But you're looking at students, they're not of that caliber yet. They don't have the experience, and they have all the learning they have is academic. Application is quite different from being academic. So they need some level of training. So what was proposed was that the wages should, even at level 1 wage, which is an entry level wage, that would go from what maybe like 30,000 or 40,000, maybe 3 or 4 fold to 120 to 200, even 200,000 in certain cases. With the result that if I as a business owner, or Bulut as a business owner, wanted to suppose, I'm just going to throw out a hypothetical, Bulut, and I'm going to use you. If Bulut wanted to hire somebody to do trading who knew the Turkish language and who could speak there, he would not be able to afford to hire that person. And I kind of tell you, because if he or she's on an H-1B, instead of paying like 40,000, they would say 120,000. Now, I mean, as a business owner, 120,000 means I have to make 4 or 5 times that amount in order to afford to pay the wages for that person. And so you won't do it, right? You won't hire that person.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much time on the students, but it's important for us.
Yes. So that's what was happening. It was freezing the hiring. And lastly, I'd like to talk about DACA. DACA is now able to make initial applications to stay here and get the employment authorization, and also renewal applications. I think at this point I've taken enough time, so I'll pass it on to Bulut.
Not at all. Very, very good stuff. Thank you, Nalini. It's all very important. Bulut, I'm going to turn to you. In particular, just honing in on St. Louis. What do you think St. Louis has to offer immigrants, and how has the region differentiated itself in that regard?
Thank you, Stella. Well, St. Louis is is a great place for immigrants, according to me, because it has a very high rate of startups and it has very high rates of successful startups as well. So, which makes St. Louis a great place, according to me. And also in St. Louis, in whole Midwest area, actually, we have a location advantage than other areas. So we are kind of located centrally, and especially if you are in a business like us in distribution or something, that makes things very easy for you because St. Louis has a great location advantage than any other places. Um, and there are also programs in St. Louis for the economical development as well. So, which is a very important factor for immigrants who are thinking about opening their business and being successful on that. I mean, that's that's very important. Besides that, as I mentioned earlier, we have great people here in St. Louis will try to help you, like Betsy and team. So also Nalini, and this this I think is going to welcome everyone on my wheel. As an immigrant, it was welcoming, and besides that, we have great restaurants here in St. Louis as well. So we have great food in St. Louis as well. So
Yes, a little known fact, but the very true. We often see lots of articles on the great restaurant scene in St. Louis, so that is a factor, and that quality of life is so important for immigrants as well. Betsy, I'm going to turn the same question over to you because I know with all of the many support programs Mosaic has for immigrants, and you have that experience being on Welcoming America on the board there as well. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think differentiates St. Louis in particular?
I think we have some really terrific chambers, ethnic chambers that are really helpful. Our Hispanic chamber, our Asian American chamber, the Bosnian chamber, the African chamber um, are very helpful, and they work with our Black Heartland chamber and our other chambers together to really get knowledge and information out. So that's been important. We've really seen some receptivity to more language access, and we and the International Institute and a whole coalition of our immigrant service provider network people have worked to get more information out in the right languages, particularly during COVID, which is really important. So there's been a willingness to work together. I would also say that I see a real sense of giving, and we've seen this through COVID, but we've seen this before. And I would just suggest, for example, that when we met with Bulut, and we learned that he was making bacterial wipes and baby wipes, we made an introduction for him to one or two of our organizations, Las Juntas, which is helping our Hispanic community. And maybe Bulut could say a moment about what he did when we asked him to be of service in the community.
thank you, Betsy. I mean, we really try to help as much because it's we see it as part of our duty as a company giving back to our community. And like there were groups like STL Juntos, and we personally arrange. I'm very big fan of them. Also, St. Louis Crisis Nursery, and I want to thank to them for what they are doing for our community. I mean, they are doing a great job. So we feel like, actually, I feel like we are obligated to do this for them for what they are doing for our children and community. So we try to donate as much as we can to them, like white donations and that, to make things easier to reach more families who they cannot afford this wipe. So I think it's reaching to the right people with the channels we are using, and we are very happy with that.
You know, we think of St. Louis as a very generous community. And again, we see that with the immigrant community as well. A number of people in our Indian community have banded together to help during COVID, to help those that have been needy, Bulut. And then on the other side, when we hear, for example, Bulut was saying that he needs some introductions for some entrees to some of our local retailers, we are in a process of trying to help so that our local retailers who sometimes say to us, let us know how we can help have more diverse suppliers, serve the diverse community. And so we can help make those introductions where we have retailers and other businesses that are open, particularly in this time right now of diversity, equity, inclusion, when more of our organizations are trying to broaden who they serve, who they buy from, what they do. We can be a conduit to help make that happen. And that's really exciting for the work that we do.
Thank you, Betsy. I've certainly heard that on the trade side as well. You know, that there's no wrong door. There's a real willingness here in St. Louis to help people advance, and perhaps we're able to do that faster than maybe in larger metros. Nalini, I'm going to pose the same question to you from your perspective. What do you think makes St. Louis different in this space?
You know, I think when I first came to St. Louis, I had to figure out where it was on the map. And like Bulut, I came from a city that was on the sea, so there's no beach. And I'm like, oh my God, there's no beach. But you know something? St. Louis has so many other things to offer. As a parent, for me, education was so paramount. The educational scene on St. Louis is fantastic, not only right all the way from kindergarten all the way up to the university level. It's just great. I think as immigrants, we all want to feel safe. And St. Louis has a lot of very safe, good neighborhoods, affordable housing where we can live and actually have a pretty decent job. In fact, I think St. Louis is ranked as one of the more affordable cities to live in for immigrants. I mean, I think I've been here like 30 plus years now, and I don't plan on moving from here. And there's a reason why, isn't it? So that we have put down roots here in St. Louis. We all want to give back to our own communities in our very small way. So I don't know if I answered your question as much as I should have, because Bulut and Betsy are much better at saying this than I am. But you know, I think that's, from my perspective, that's the reason St. Louis works. It's the healthcare is really good. We have a lot of universities. We have all these incubator spaces, T-Rex and Cortex and Arch Grants and Billikens, and we have the corridor now in Creve Coeur, and and in the city. I mean, yeah. So that's very exciting. That kind of atmosphere is very exciting, and I think in that sense we are on par with Boston and San Francisco and Silicon Valley in that sense, but for more of the scientific area of our business.
For sure. Thank you, Nalini. You've definitely hit on some of the points that we try to use to sell St. Louis as well, in terms of the affordability in healthcare and educational institutions. And I know my colleague Janet Wilding at the 39 North Innovation District will be glad to hear of the shout out there. So thank you for that. Turning now to what should we be communicating to employers and policymakers and immigrants, quite frankly, in the region, in order to ensure that St. Louis continues to attract foreign-born? Betsy, I'll punt that one to you.
The first thing I would say is that we need to have all talent. We need to have our native-born talent. We have to be building local people who are in our pipeline of apprenticeships and STEM training and coding and all the skills. So we have to definitely focus on building the talent that we have here. At the same time, we have to appreciate what international students, we have 9,000 at any given time in the region. We did before COVID, and we will again. So we have to say, we need both. We need local grown talent, and then we need to add in international people that come because of education, because of entrepreneurship, because of being reunited with their families, that this is all part of what will make us a growing region. And we as a region, we're hovering at that 20th, 19th, 20th largest region, and we want to stay in the top 20. And to do that, we have to be growing, we have to be vibrant. And so to that extent, our employers who want this to be an attractive region so that they can attract talent need to understand that the slice of our foreign-born community is one slice that adds to that bigger picture. We want to be part of a growing region, we want to be multicultural, and we want to work with both the hiring. We want to make opportunities for talent to come from the talent of our foreign-born community that's work authorized for the employers that need to seek talent this minute, but we also need to look to the future growth of talent and what that is going to mean. And that relates again to the diversity, equity, inclusion work that much of our organizations are going through. And it ties into the 2030 regional growth plan that says we need inclusive growth. And the word inclusive is key because we need opportunities for our Black community, but we need community opportunities for the people of color that often are foreign-born as well. So it's a big picture, but that's what it's going to take for us to be a growing region.
Thanks, Betsy. And as an immigrant, Bulut, I know that we're sometimes looked at as kind of the spokesperson for where you're living, and when you return home or you're interacting with your countrymen and women, you have to make the case for why you've chosen the place you have. What, as an employer and as an immigrant, I guess, what are you communicating to both your workers and to others who may be looking to you for advice if they're thinking of emigrating to St. Louis?
Thank you, Stella. Immigration is great. I mean, here in St. Louis, they have a lot of opportunities. And I would like to mention about International Institute as well, because they're helping a lot to immigration community as well. And actually, we have plans to work with them for hiring immigrant talents. So whenever we need, they're going to be the first address that we are going to go because they have a great service that they're providing for immigrants who are looking for jobs and looking for other help and everything. So International Institute of St. Louis is the right address for us to go, I believe.
I would
Great,
build
thanks,
on,
Bulut.
I
Sorry,
would build
Betsy.
on that, what Bulut said, that we work on a daily basis with the International Institute, and their ability to, they have a whole team of people that work on workforce development, job training. They have a career advancement for international professionals to help people who are foreign born but have degrees from out of the country to help with resumes, networking skills, relationship skills. They have training in various fields. They have citizenship, English, computer. And so they're a really big source of preparing the talent that we need and to services, not just to refugees, but even to the high skilled talent as well that we have in the region. And they're such an important resource for the cultural and the workforce of the region.
Absolutely, I totally agree. We've certainly worked, they've been a fantastic partner of ours. And of course, even way back before when we were thinking about the Mosaic Project, certainly very instrumental there as well with Anna Kralsson, the former president and CEO. Nalini, anything else to add on that in particular with, I guess, with the policymakers in your case? Anything else you would add to that?
So actually, I'd like to tell the employers that don't be afraid of hiring foreign-born citizens who need visas, because just like anything else that you deal with the government, if you take the right steps, chances are you are going to be successful in having an excellently talented person in your company. Go and explore, because these people do bring their best foot forward, and they will prove to be excellent employees for your company. So don't be afraid of hiring a foreign student. Don't be afraid of sponsoring somebody for a visa. Don't be afraid of that, because there are many good immigration attorneys here in St. Louis who can help you with that. So
Great,
I think that's the message I'd like to send to people.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. And so last question before we delve into the Q&A from our audience, how can our attendees get involved to assist in attracting and retaining immigrants in the region? So people who are watching this, what can they do to help us to keep that edge in terms of attracting foreign-born? And we'll start with you, Betsy.
Yes, I have 3 ideas. One, if you go to the website for the St. Louis Mosaic Project at stlmosaicproject.org, individuals can get connected as Mosaic ambassadors, where we connect you and give you information about ways that you can help with a project or help as a Zoom pal to be connected to an international student here who is lonely. We have Mosaic ambassador companies, of which Bulut's company is one. Every month we add a new company and we have ideas of how they can be welcoming to their foreign-born employees and how they can help educate their communities on what it means. And we are right now working with several of our employers on how can we provide some multicultural panels as they're looking at ways to broaden the experiences of their own employees. We also have Mosaic Ambassador schools, which are K through 12, who contact us, or if you are part of a school district, you can look and see, is your school or school district welcoming? And when people are moving to St. Louis, they look at our list and they say, oh, Parkway is on that list, or St. Cecilia's is on that list, whatever it might be. And we have ideas about how your school could be more welcoming to the staff, your teachers, your families, your students who might come from a foreign-born culture. And how can you be more welcoming so that you will be able to be a growing, welcoming community? So we would love to have more welcoming schools. We would love more welcoming ambassador companies, and we would love more ambassadors and men and women who want to connect through some of our other mentoring programs. So great ways that we can help you connect.
Fantastic, thank you. I know Mosaic has a plethora of initiatives that they run and manage, and so and there's always a lot of momentum there. So please do check out the website. Nalini, same question to you.
I think what I'm going to say is that every immigrant is an ambassador for the city of St. Louis. Come talk to all of us. I mean, the other day I had this conversation with this young doctor who was moving from New York, and he was, I think, moving to one of the local hospitals here. He was a cardiac surgeon, and he wanted to know, what was it like to live here? And of course, he brought a couple of my friends. We all socially distanced in COVID times. So we actually kind of spoke to him and said, you know, this is where I think, you know, buying a house is nice. This is where your kids can go to school. This is where I think, you know, we can introduce you to other people in the community so you can talk with them. So if each one of us just does this, I think that will be the best way in which we can promote the region, because we are living that, right? We are living that no matter how long we've been here, we are living that. So we can bring that living experience to the community. I did a program at WashU where they have 50 students from in their MBA program from different parts of the world, taking classes at overseas and then coming for the final leg to WashU. And I spoke to one of their classes. It was amazing. I mean, they wanted to know, this is exactly what they wanted to know, is what was it like for me to live here? And, you know, to be honest, I've lived here so long, I've forgotten that the other part of it was how, when I first came here, what it was like. So, I mean, but I'd still like to remember what it was like and, you know, to talk to people about that. I think that's what we bring to the table.
Wonderful, thanks, Nalini. And Bulut, same question to you.
Thank you. According to me, we have to direct them to the right resources, like information-wise, like economical-wise, and everything. We have to direct them to the right resources so they can have access about those informations very easily. And other than that, as an employer, we have to be welcoming, not as an employer for everyone, very welcoming to our immigrant community so we can retain them here.
Great, thank you. All right, so we've received a lot of comments in the chat. Many of them are very complimentary about the work of Mosaic, and you, Bulut, saying you're an inspiration, and Nalini's work. So if you do have questions, please pose them in the Q&A. We do have a few here, so we'll check some out. Nalini, how did you get this idea of inspiring lawyers in large firms to start their own businesses? As an IT company owner, I've been trying to inspire people working in large corporations to start their own business, but not having much luck. Just curious about your thoughts.
Actually, the idea, funny you should ask that. The idea started out, the dean of St. Louis University used to have lunch for us once, I think once every few months here in Clayton. And they invited a variety of people. And one of the lawyers sitting next to me was just transitioning out of a large law firm. And he was really afraid of what the future was going to hold for him. And we just got into this conversation, and we were just talking about what I do and what he thinks he should be doing and practice areas and things like that. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I've lived this existence. I need other people to know my experience so that somebody can benefit from it. Somebody can benefit from it, because as lawyers, we're always told, go to the large law firms, go to the medium-sized law firms. When I was coming out of law school, practicing on your own was not a thing that people encouraged you to do. So I think it's definitely a lifestyle, definitely much more family friendly. I think slowly people are coming to that existence. And that's how that book started. And plus, of course, I taught at the law school. So, that also, helped a lot.
Great, thank you, Nalini. So I think there was another question here, Betsy. This might be one directed for you. Do you track statistics on international students attending SLU, WashU, or Webster University that stay here in St. Louis after graduation? Are those students typically highly recruited by local companies?
It's hard to get the information from the universities about how many are staying for any of their students. There are some general statistics, but it's hard. We know how many overall, there are 9,000, but we do not know exactly how many are staying. But we connect with them, we speak with the international students and the career counselors, and we keep track of them. And then we also help the employers who often are trying to find immigration lawyers to hire them. I know there's another question about how that works. And so often people reach out to us, we refer them to, usually we give them the name of several immigration attorneys that they can use if they're trying to understand how to hire a very specific international student or another international candidate is one thing that we do when we try to make those connections. And we also have some information at the Mosaic website. Under our international career area, we have a spreadsheet that talks about some of the basic facts and costs about what it may take to get involved in hiring an international candidate. And that often is, international students are one of the most frequent questions we get, but we often get other questions about other sponsorship as well.
Great, thanks, Betsy. And just following on from what you said, there is a question on what is the best source for information on criteria on sponsoring a visa? So perhaps Nalini will direct that one to you.
So it depends on what kind of visa, and what kind of sponsorship is required. So if it's an employment visa, you most likely need an employer. It also depends, I mean, the type of visa, students are different, H-1Bs are different, or Ls are different, everything is different. So with more specificity, that I think I can answer that question a little more fully.
Sure. Another question on what can we do to help students adapt to cultural understanding and be more attractive to local employers? So Bulut, perhaps we'll pose that one to you.
Well, they have an advantage actually, because they're immigrants and they have different views, and if they can adapt and orient themselves in the USA as well, I think they would be very successful, because they can see the things that others cannot because of their background, because they have different views. They have sometimes different beliefs that actually makes them think differently as well. So that's what we see as an employer. It's important for us to have someone has a large wheel. So I think what they should do here, they should just reach the right resources and then just find a way to be successful and work hard. That's the most important part.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bulut. A question for all three panelists, really. How do we encourage more St. Louisans to be open to people coming into the region? And I would just add to that, you know, of course, we've seen a lot of backlash against immigrants, particularly in the last number of years, particularly against Asian American immigrants as well. So just opening that to each of you, what can we do to ensure that St. Louis is more open?
I will start off. I think a lot of it comes down to personal interactions and understanding, meeting people that are different and learning what you have in common, as Nalini was saying, that the shared values that we all have about neighborhoods and the goals for our children to be safe and to live a life that has opportunity is one area that we've learned through Welcoming America that is a good way for people to build bridges. Secondly, I think I tried to understand, depending on the person, what's in their own interest, that they can see that having more people come to our region, no matter where they're from, much less foreign born, is going to help, whether it's keeping their schools open, keeping neighborhoods having more shops and vitality, whether they're trying to grow their business. I mean, if someone is involved in real estate or financial planning, if you don't add foreign born people to your mix, you probably aren't going to have a growing business. And so what I say is, if you're fine with a business that is going to be declining over the next couple of years, then have at it. But if you want to be part of a growing economy and have a business that is thriving, then you may want to open yourselves up to understanding our Hispanic community, our Asian community, our Mideastern community, that these are opportunities for growth for your business. There are also opportunities for personal growth, friendships, relationships. I saw a new report yesterday that said that it's personal sharing of stories really builds bridges.
Great words. So we are at time. So we will have to leave it at that. I feel like we could continue this conversation for probably another hour. So thank you so much to our panelists. Some great information there. I hope you've gotten some takeaways as to how you can get involved. As Betsy mentioned, certainly on this stlmosaicproject.org, you can find lots more information, and we will send you a recording with everybody's contact details as well following this event. So thank you for sharing your lunchtime hour with us. We do hope to see you for our next event in the series, which is on March 8th on International Women's Day. So I think we alluded to Anna Croslan of the International Institute. So Anna will be joining us for that, along with our board member, Renee Franklin, and business owner, Zakita Armstrong. So put that one on your calendars. There are details on our website. And in the interim, stay safe, stay well, and take care. And thank you for joining us.